Hello everyone, welcome back to another Bible story with Becca. Today we are continuing to read about Ruth and Naomi, who we read about last week. If you can remember, Naomi was the mother-in-law to Ruth and Orpah, and she decided to go home and invited Ruth and Orpah with her, but only Ruth ended up going, and she said, "Wherever you will go, I will go. Whoever is your God will be my God. Your people will be my people." So we're going to continue on reading about Ruth and Naomi and see what happens next in their journey. So if you would like to open up your Spark Story Bible and follow along, we're on page 114. And this story is called Ruth and Boaz. Here we go. Ruth and Naomi were very, very poor. They didn't have any money to buy food to eat. Ruth said to Naomi, "I'm going to go to the field nearby to pick up some of the leftover grain so that we can make some bread to eat. Hopefully, I'll meet someone who can help us." In the field, Ruth walked behind the people who were harvesting the grain and picked up the leftovers for herself and Naomi. In the evenings, she would grind the grain into flour and use it to make bread so they could eat. Ruth was a very hard worker. Ruth didn't know it, but she had picked a field that belonged to a rich man named Boaz. Boaz was also one of Naomi's relatives. When Boaz saw Ruth, he asked, "Who is that young woman picking up the leftovers?" The servant who was in charge of all the workers in the field said, "Oh, her? She isn't from here. She came with Naomi and asked if she could have some of the leftovers. She's a hard worker." When Boaz met Ruth, he told her she could stay in his field and work with the other women. "If you get tired or thirsty," he said, "please stop and rest and have a drink of water." Ruth was very grateful. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she asked shyly. Boaz said, "I've heard how hard you work and how kind you have been to Naomi. I think God must be very proud of you, and I would like to help you." Boaz told his workers to be very kind to Ruth and to let her take all the grain that she wanted for herself and Naomi. So in this story, Ruth was trying to continue to help her mother-in-law Naomi by giving her food, by picking up the leftover grain in the field, grinding it and making it into bread for her mother-in-law. And when the rich man who owned the field found out that she was doing this, he didn't get mad. He knew that God must be proud of her for taking care of his relative, his relative Naomi. And so he said, "Ruth, keep taking what you need. If you need to take a break, stop and have some of the water that I have." He was just very kind and gracious to Ruth, which I think is a wonderful example of how we should treat others. Even if maybe they're taking something from us or doing something that is unkind to us, we need to show grace and care toward the people because they are God's people. For an activity this week, I would love it if you could pretend that you are Ruth when you are picking up your toys. Pretend that you're Ruth picking the leftover grain out of the field and bend over and imagine that you're hunched over the field and think to yourself, is it hard work or is it easy work? Do you think that doing that all day in a field would be difficult or easy? And what if you did it all day long? I bet you'd be pretty sore. So talk about that with your families. Think about how Ruth felt trying to provide for her family, even though you're just picking up your toys. So I hope you have a great week. Next week will be a little bit different for Bible Story with Becca. We are going to start Sunday school again at church, and hopefully your parents have received a letter about that. But our Bible Stories with Becca will follow along with what we're learning in Sunday school. So we're going to go back to the creation story next week, and we will see you then. Bye, everyone.